Hello everyone, my name is Ziyi and welcome to my presentation with the topic of Deep Noise Suppression with Non-Intrusive PESQNet Supervision, enabling the use of real training data. This is a joint work with Maximilian and Team Fingscheidt. The motivation of our work is most of the speech enhancement neural networks are trained in a fully supervised way, employing noisy speech to be synthesized by clean speech and additive noise. So there is a problem. That in real inference, only the noisy microphone mixture is available, so there is a mismatch between the training and the inference condition, and may limit the performance. So the question is, how can real data be advantageously employed in training? So the solution is in our work. We propose an end-to-end non-intrusive PESQNet to estimate the PESQ scores of the enhanced speech, which allows a reference-free perceptual loss for real data. And the training target is to maximize the estimated PESQ scores of the enhanced speech. Furthermore, we propose a novel training protocol to train our speech enhancement, fully convolutional recurrent neural network FCRN, and the PESQNet alternatively, which solves the problem addressed in this paper, where the author proposed a reference-based PESQ score estimator, which is called QualityNet, and use it to train a speech enhancement neural network. However, the QualityNet is fixed during the complete training process. Thus, the speech enhancement neural network will try to fool the QualityNet during the training and lead to the phenomenon where the estimated PESQ score is always decreasing, while the true PESQ scores start to decrease just after a few mini-batch of training. And we solve these problems by our novel training protocol. Now I will start to introduce our FCRN and PESQNet training. We proposed to train the FCRN and PESQNet with a three-stage training, including a pre-training, a first-stage fine-tuning, and a second-stage fine-tuning. Here, both the pre-training and the first-stage fine-tuning are fully supervised training, employing synthetic data. And here illustrates the FCRN pre-training and first-stage fine-tuning setup. The FCRN is trained with a so-called synthetic loss, which contain two loss terms. The first loss term is a joint loss for dereverberation and denoising, and is calculated from the enhanced speech spectrum obtained from the FCRN and its corresponding clean speech spectrum. And second loss term is only focused on denoising, which is calculated from the enhanced speech spectrum and its corresponding clean reverberated speech spectrum. And here illustrates the PESQNet pre-training and first-stage fine-tuning setup. And the PESQNet can estimate a PESQ score from the enhanced speech spectrum obtained from the FCRN. And the training of the PESQNet aiming at deliver an accurately estimated PESQ score. So we define a PESQNet loss, which mirrors the distance between the estimated PESQ score and its ground truth PESQ scores mirrored following ITUT standard. So during the training process, this training loss should be minimized. The aiming of the pre-training is to offer a good initialization for the FCRN and the PESQNet. So we employ a 105 hours training set, which is based on the Wall Street Journal Zero Corpus, which is synthetic data, and in this pre-training stage, no reverberations are considered. The first stage fine-tuning is more like domain adaptation, so we adapt our pre-trained FCRN and PESQNet to the current DNS3 challenge data domain. So we employ a 100-hour training set, which is obtained from the DNS3 challenge data, and is also synthetic data. And however, within this data set, 50% of the training materials contains reverberation, so we consider the reverberation here. So the training procedure is as follows. First, we do the FCRN pre-training, then we fix the FCRN, and do the PESQNet pre-training, adapting it to the current pre-trained FCRN. So both the first step and second step belong to the pre-training. After the pre-training, we do the FCRN fine-tuning, then we keep the FCRN fixed and fine-tune the PESQNet, adapting it to the current FCRN. So until this point, both the FCRN and the PESQNet are trained and adapted to the current DNS3 challenge data. However, how we can employ real data during training? This is done in the second stage fine-tuning. Here, we illustrate the second stage fine-tuning for the FCRN and the PESQNet. Indeed, this second stage fine-tuning is a FCRN PESQNet joint training, which is semi-supervised. We call it semi-supervised because it employs both synthetic data and the real data. The synthetic data is the DNS data as used before, and the real data is collected from the previous DNS1 and DNS2 real test data. So what we do is we first do the FCRN training with a fixed PESQNet. This is done by changing the switch to the left position, and we introduce a real data loss, which is also compatible for synthetic data. This loss aiming at maximize the estimated PESQ scores of the enhanced speech. And the FCRN is trained with this total loss. It contains two parts. The first part is for real data, so it's just the real loss. And for synthetic data, it contains both the real loss and the synthetic loss, which I have introduced before, and they are summed together and weighted by alpha and 1 minus alpha, respectively. Then, we train the PESQNet with a fixed FCRN. This is done by changing the switch to the right position. And the PESQNet loss is defined as shown here, and is also introduced before. This is aiming at estimating a reliable PESQ scores. So the detail of this joint training is we propose a novel 1150 training protocol. This 11 means for 11 FCRN training employ total loss with fixed PESQNet. So the FCRN is trained with 1 mini batch of real data followed by 1 mini batch of synthetic data. So indeed the FCRN is trained with 2 mini batch of data, 1 real data, 1 synthetic. Then we train the PESQNet with 50 mini batch of synthetic data. This is done by changing the switch to the right position, and it employs the PESQNet loss with fixed FCRN. This training aiming at adapting the PESQNet to the current FCRN, so it can prevent the fixed PESQNet being fooled by the updated FCRN. So we avoid that the estimated PESQ score increase while the true PESQ scores decrease. And then we repeat this 1150 training protocol for the rest of the training materials. And in this figure, blue and the green arrows indicate the gradient backpropagated for the FCRN and the PESQNet training respectively. The detailed topology of the FCRN and the PESQNet are introduced in our paper. Here we will show the experimental evaluations. Of course, more details are illustrated in our paper, and now I will just show the instrumental quality result and later on show the subject listening test results. The instrumental quality results are mirrored on the DNS1 challenge preliminary test set. We use this test set because it's fully synthetic test set and it contains the noisy speech with and without reverberation, except the normally used PESQ and STOI to reflect the speech quality and the speech intelligibility. We also mirror the delta SNR, which reflect the noise attenuation, the SRMR, which reflects the dereverberation effects, and also a DNS MOS, which is a MOS predictor from the challenge organizer. So all of these metrics should be as high as possible. And this BNS3 baseline is a challenge baseline offered by the organizer, and we directly use it without any retraining. And except our proposed 1150 joint training, FCRN PESQNet joint training, we also do a joint training with 0250 training protocol. This is done by changing the 1 mini batch of real data to just an additional 1 mini batch of synthetic data. So the FCRN is still trained with 2 mini batch of data, but both of them are synthetic data. So by comparing these two approaches, we want to show that how much improvement or how much influence can be introduced by employing 1 mini batch of real data during training. And first, we can see that our proposed PESQNet can really offer a good perceptual related loss, which boosts the perceptual quality. Comparing the 0250 with the DNS baseline, we win about 0.2 points on the PESQ scores, and for the 1150, we'll win 0.14 points on the PESQ scores. We also our approach can offer the highest DNS MOS, which is 0.24 points higher comparing with the baseline. And our approach proposed 1150 training can offer also the highest delta SNR, which is about 2.2 dB higher than the baseline. And under the condition with reverberation, our proposed method can also offer the best PESQ scores, which is 0.24 points higher than the baseline. And the SRMR is also higher than the baseline. So by comparing these two now, we can see the most measurement are very, very close. So we can see that including real data in training with our proposed approach doesn't harm performance on synthetic test data. This is what we expected. And furthermore, we can see that our proposed FCRN PESQNet joint training employ real data can significantly improve over the DNS3 baseline on the synthetic test data. Here we will show the subject quality result in terms of most scores mirrored according to ITU-TP 835, which is mirrored on the blend test set. This is extracted from the real-time track for wideband signal. So the most score is reported on the noise, speech, and the overall, which is the enhanced speech separately. So our proposed method wins the baseline on the noise modes by 0.45 points. And we lose a little bit in the speech modes. This is somehow expected, since the strong noise attenuation is always accompanied by some kind of speech distortion. However, in the overall most scores, we still can win the baseline by about 0.1 points. So in total, we can say that our proposed framework can advantageously employ real data during training and can improve over the baseline method on both synthetic data and the real test data. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the audience?
Hello. So I have one question. Ziyi, have you used just your plain network trained on the loss without the PESQ loss as a baseline?
Yes, we have trained this and reported in our paper, but not shown in the presentation.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if this PESQ loss improves over this
yes.
the loss that uses not the PESQ.
Yes, improve. Not so obvious. So the improvement is not strong, but still improve a little bit. Yeah, that is somehow related to our training, because now we train two network, and because of the training time, and we cannot find maybe the best combination is not 1150, maybe other training protocol. So there's still have some space can be achieved. So yeah.
And then I have a second question. So so obviously you use this PESQNet as a loss, so your network will overfit to PESQ, which is probably not what you want in the end, because PESQ is also not the ultimate measure. And you're retraining also this PESQNet. So how would you adapt this to actually train on real data without using PESQ? So if, let's say, if you had another MOS predictor.
So that problem is because we're using the real PESQ score as a training target. So the real PESQ need a clean reference signal. So it's always, so the PESQNet is always trained in a fully supervised way with synthetic data. This is, of course, you're right. This is some limitation, but somehow we really cannot do any more to that, because we cannot using the real subject listening scores as a training target, because this is impossible, right? Yeah. It's too many data.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Maybe a quick related question. Did you evaluate the correlation between PESQNet and the subjective quality? I'm guessing it's close to PESQ, which is...
Yeah, we have evaluated. For the pre-training, we get a linear correlation coefficient about 0.95, so it's strong related. And for the fine-tuning when we employ the DNS data with reverberation. The performance a little bit lower, and it's around 0.87 for the correlation coefficient.
Is that the correlation coefficient to subjective quality or to PESQ?
To the PESQ, to the ground truth PESQ.
Yeah. Did you do it for subjective quality also?
No, sorry, no, not.
Okay. Great. If there's any other questions, please add them in the chat. We're out of time right now, but thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
And